Hello and welcome to another Facebook Live. The last Facebook Live before the recess, even though we just had a recess, the 2-week term. And what did Jeremy Corbyn go on? He didn't go on Brexit. He surprised us and he went on universal credit, which isn't a particularly comfortable topic for the Conservative Party given the run of bad headlines they've had about its roll-on. And Isabel, how do you think he did?
I thought he was all right, actually. He started with a good, strong question, which was a list of the organisations that have expressed concerns about the implementation of universal credit. And Theresa May's answer to that was pretty weak, which was, he basically said, what do they all have in common? And Theresa May said, oh, well, the government responds and works with them, blah, blah, blah. And then he explained what the concerns about the implementation of this benefit actually are. And Theresa May decided to respond by sort of doing a Corbyn, by listing the names of people who liked being on universal credit. But it didn't really work because if you have the sort of National Audit Office, the Federation of Small Businesses and so on, who are they're not implacable enemies of the government. I mean, the National Audit Office's job is to scrutinise government spending and the implementation of government programmes. To then sort of say, yes, but I've met 5 people who are happy, it sort of proves that slightly that often overused saying that anecdote is not the singular of data.
It seemed to me to be a little bit of a Jeremy Corbyn tactic almost.
Absolutely.
The fact he gets up in the district box and he says, oh, this person, often only giving a first name, has contacted me.
Yep.
So maybe she was doing the Corbyn playbook?
Yeah, I think she was sort of doing a Corbyn, but I just don't think it worked given what his questions were. And she then tried to, his next question moved on to asking about a more technical aspect of the benefit. She then jumped back to offer someone else who she'd met who liked universal credit as well.
Meeting people.
Yeah, I mean, she had her sort of payoff at the end where she talked about Chuka Umunna saying that the Labour Party was institutionally racist, and you knew that was going to come up at some point in the session, even if it wasn't in the main exchanges. And she had a reasonable payoff, which was just think what Corbyn, could do to this country. But by that point, I think she'd sort of lost the house. And I'm not saying that Corbyn was able to sort of make universal credit the big scandal of the day, but he certainly didn't allow Theresa May to look as though she was in control and had got this matter in hand, which the government really don't.
It seemed to me that she tried to stay away from all the specific questions she was being asked to shop, and all the detail, and instead tried to focus on the philosophy, so to speak, behind universal credit. So the idea that actually forget the rollout, which I don't think you could really find any Conservative MP who say this has gone well. This is about getting more people into work, and the idea that benefits aren't the way to do that, and under Labour people could get up to 100k in benefits. Do you think that played quite well to the benches or will play to the Tory base? Is that a good way to bat it back?
Well, potentially. It's probably more effective than just simply listing case studies to say that the principle behind this is really important. But the Labour Party have accepted the principle behind universal credit as well. What they're not accepting, understandably, and what privately you and I, Katie, will hear from lots of Conservative backbenchers is not acceptable is the rollout of this benefit. And they're now seeing people coming into their surgeries saying, this is a complete disaster for me, I haven't had my benefits, I'm broke. And to then sort of make it about the principle rather than the detail is a classic government tactic, and it's one actually that does work reasonably well in Westminster, which tends to debate principle, not detail.
Yeah. And then some people thought Jeremy Corbyn would go on Brexit just because it's going so well for Theresa May right now. And we had a meeting last night with the European Research Group, which has just been described as basically an open session how to overthrow a Prime Minister. Fortunately for Theresa May, it wasn't that productive a session.
No.
So although there are different ideas about how you should get your letters together, should you do 20 letters at a time to Graham Brady in the 1922 committee, it seems like nothing was really confirmed. And we've seen today a lot of lead Brexiteers try and pour a lot of cold water on this and say, hey, no, we're not planning to get rid of her yet. Do you think Theresa May looks weak at the moment? And did you sense any kind of hostile questions from her own party in that session, or do you think they were trying to be nice now?
Yeah, she had 2 loyal questions on Europe, didn't she? Chris Philp and Alan Mack, who have never been known to ask difficult questions at PMQs or to refuse a question offered by the whips or the Prime Minister's PPS, I think. But I think it doesn't look great that you've got Tory MPs having a meeting where they're discussing how to get rid of the Prime Minister. But I think, you've covered the antics of the ERG over the past few months. I think they've been slicker than they have been this week. They've been pretty shambolic, actually. And the fact that you've got leading Brexiteers saying, what are you doing, shows that the Brexit camp is divided. And that helps Theresa May. I'm not saying it helps her appear strong, maybe appears less weak than she could do.
That she might survive the week.
Yeah, with the sort of low. Do you think that the ERG have landed well this week with their reports? Because they haven't had a great write-up, I have to say.
I think the Brexit have had a pretty bad week. I think it might change slightly today with this Irish border positing, but in general, it's also kind of brought on entirely by themselves, because we heard last week that the ERG and lots of Brexiteers were going to finally unveil this policy, this manifesto almost, that would completely beat Chequers and show that there was a really viable way forward. This was coming from them. Then we hear that's not going to happen because they're all disagreeing about having creative differences, which you can see why would be the case. I mean, not all Brexiteers want the same things.
No, they've all got their own sort of boutique Brexit.
Exactly, and what was so impressive about the EU referendum campaign was they managed to get behind a message. That didn't work. Over the weekend we had embarrassing details from this document, the idea of a satellite that was going to protect Britain from nuclear attacks. Maybe that's not laughable, maybe I'm just being unfair, but it didn't instill confidence. You find out Boris Johnson is not planning to put his name on this. Before you know it, the whole thing starts to unravel. So it's meant that this week, even though the Brexiteers are doing things, it's much easier for their critics to say, you are all about criticism and you're not about finding solutions. And today, we are hearing they've had this Irish border event. I do think where it might slightly tell in their favour is we've had Nigel Dodds of the DUP release a statement saying that he thinks that ERG's ideas on the Irish border are good. That's tricky for Theresa May.
That's not helpful, is it?
Given that her entire Chequers policy is justified not in the sense of this is so good for Britain, look at the trade possibilities, but this deals with the Irish border in a way that no other Brexit plan can. So I still think there's a chance that they'll end the week on top, but right now, no. Which might suggest why we didn't get such a hostile questions as we have in previous, like before the summer recess, when Andrea Jenkins stood up and said, why is this Prime Minister for Remain? It's noticeable that's been dialed back.
Yes, I suppose the most notable Brexit-related, leadership-related question came from Ian Blackford, who did, I think, have quite a striking line in that he said that the Prime Minister is unfit to govern. Now, perhaps you might expect that an opposition party leader would say that, but actually normally opposition party leaders keep those interventions to a minimum so that they have the greatest impact. He said she's unfit to govern, her backbenchers know that too. So it's obviously achieving cut-through enough for someone like Ian Blackford to think that it should form a major part of his questions. Although he didn't call for her to resign yet.
Yeah, she remains. We have a question from Morris. Are there any Tory MPs who believe that Brexit is anything other than a disaster? I think there's probably quite a few.
Yeah.
Who think it's the opposite of a disaster.
Yeah.
And actually, I think the number of Tory MPs who think it's a disaster is still really quite small.
Yeah.
And it's the people who have always, been very passionately Remain and haven't changed their mind, and the people who want a second referendum, would you say?
Yeah, and conversely also, the idea that every Tory MP hates Chequers isn't quite right, because actually we've had, over the past couple of days, key Brexiteers saying, well, in the end, I probably will vote for Chequers anyway, which is a really bad negotiating tactic, because you basically want to keep that threat going for as long as possible, but secretly, and now publicly, they don't think it's as bad as has initially been made out.
And I do think this is one of the problems that the Brexiteers have at this meeting, and it's highlighted. I mean, we've had Steve Baker earlier this week say there are 80 Tory MPs willing to vote against Chequers. I think you just need about 7, isn't it, MPs to vote against it for it to be a problem.
Yeah.
But I think they can definitely cause a lot of problems for Theresa May on the final deal.
Yeah.
But before then, they've just got to kind of cause as much, bluster, try and get a response, and then number 10 is just, do they take their threat really seriously? Do they think they'll go ahead and actually vote against the deal? I think some of them would.
Yeah.
I'm not sure it's 80.
No.
But when you look at this meeting, I think the problem is you just can't see how, even if the Brexiteers in their current form managed to get enough letters to Graham Brady, which they probably could, you can't see that necessarily win the confidence vote, because you'd need about 150 MPs.
Yeah, and you've got the Stand Up for Brexit campaign, which has got 25 public backers, so that's not 80. I mean, my maths it's not university level, but it's...
And, I mean, it does depend a lot on the concessions. So the point is, if Theresa makes these big concessions to get Chequers through or something similar, I think that could be the point in the shift.
Yeah.
Where people are like, actually, it's now got, so unpalatable. But likewise, there's a report today in The Sun suggesting that if that happens, maybe there's a surprise backup plan.
Yeah.
We'll see about that, because, I mean, Theresa May has staked so much of her political career on Chequers.
Yeah.
It seems hard for her to come back for him, but you also feel like it's the highest office in the land, there must be a plan B.
Well, yes, but there's that
Maybe
saying
not.
from Dominic Cummings that
ninjas.
once you get into government, you discover that there are no ninjas and everyone is as incompetent as everyone else feels.
Yeah. Here's a question from Craig Sargent. Did some in the European Research Group not get behind a Canada-style deal? I think that is the majority of the ERG's view, is a Canada-style deal would be the best thing. And that's the deep frustration, because most of them don't actually think no deal is palatable.
Yeah.
Some of them think no deal is fine, but there is probably a significant chunk that have reservations. So I think they are annoyed that they've been offered by the current government a choice between something which they think is way too close to the EU Chequers and something which is just, could be chaotic depending on how it plays out. And it's working out how you can get the Canada-style true agreement back on the table, because you do have to negotiate it, which means it's hard to just...
Yes, to go back on what's previously been discussed.
And then we have one on Labour. Oh wait, here's another Tory one. We said not all Tory MPs think Brexit is a disaster. Now we have most Tory MPs voted against Brexit. Have they all lost their minds?
I think a lot of them have... a lot of those who did campaign for Remain have decided that the best thing to do is to be pragmatic about this. So Jeremy Hunt actually is a classic example of this. Campaigned for Remain, then said, well, we need to be pragmatic about the fact that Britain voted for Brexit, so we need to have a good Brexit. Reiterated that this week, saying that, we need to get on with Brexit, which was written up as a sort of surprise, but that's really been his strategy for a while, is to say, well, I could complain, or I could try to work on getting the best deal. I mean, also, if you're a leadership contender, it's pretty handy to try to sort of straddle both camps by saying, I was Remain, but I'm now pragmatic. But you do really only have a hardcore of Conservative MPs who remain, as it were.
Yeah.
Anna Soubry, Nicky Morgan, you know all the names.
Sarah Wollaston. It's people who there's the really Remain ones, and there's some who are kind of regarded perhaps more as independent style colleagues within the Conservative Party. And you have some people like Heidi Allen, who is quite Remain in some respects, but has said she is behind Theresa May on Chequers, but if that fails, then she would go for a people's vote, a second referendum on the final deal. And then people like Nick Bowles, who are in the middle, who said EEA. I think the problem is there do seem to be a significant chunk who backed Remain, now they say they accept the result, who say they can get behind Chequers or EEA, but they say they can't get behind no deal. And I think that begs the question, does that mean if we get to a no deal scenario, are they saying they'll take anything but open options? And then moving over to Labour, we have a question here saying, will there be a leadership challenge in Labour?
No, I don't think so. There have been discussions about a possible additional vote of no confidence in Jeremy Corbyn, just to make a point. But I think what you're seeing now is the movement of people who want to leave the party and who want to set up on their own in one way or another. That's much more likely, which would likely deprive Jeremy Corbyn of a majority at the next election if he came close to it, with those MPs retaining their seats or splitting the vote between Labour and independent ex-Labour so that the Tories would get in. So you do also have this group of other moderates who want to stay in the party and fight, but I don't think they see there being a leadership challenge soon. Their strategy is a really long-term one, which is basically wait for the party to be, as they believe, razed to the ground at the next election and then be part of the rebuilding. The problem with that is that actually they sort of thought the party was going to be razed to the ground in the 2017 election, and it wasn't. It actually bolstered Jeremy Corbyn's authority. So they may be waiting longer. I think the split between those two groups is that those who want to leave are actually worried that Corbyn could become Prime Minister. Those who want to stay think that there's less of a risk of that.
And then one more question, and then I think maybe let's do a bit of a conference look ahead quickly, which is basically back to the pro-Brexit Conservatives. Do any pro-Brexit Conservatives have a credible solution to the Irish border, away from Theresa May's proposed one? Well, we've seen the ERG today, haven't we, launch their proposal, which, correct me when I go wrong, seems to be to send tax inspectors and things across the country on either side, so they're not necessarily where the border is.
Yeah, sort of roving.
Roving, yeah. And that has been welcomed by the DUP's Nigel Dodds.
Yeah.
But there's obviously a reason Number 10 don't like it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, I think the problem is where they are at in the negotiations. If Theresa May isn't the one pushing these ideas forward, it's hard to know if Brussels are going to go for them or not. But there is an increased thinking in mind that if Barnier is, as he says, so opposed to the Chequers deal, if that is way more unpalatable than a free trade deal, they may start to fudge the Irish border question. And that might mean that they are more open to things like this in a way that they weren't early on. And for a long time, Brussels have thought, I think, that they can just bounce the UK into staying in a customs union. And if they start to think that's not the case, then they may try a new tactic, because it has been suggested that Chequers actually is worse for the EU in terms of protecting things like the single market. And then this is our last Facebook Live, unless we managed to do one at conference. So I guess we've got Lib Dem next week. Are you going as well? I've taken a holiday.
Yes, I think at The Spectator we'll be covering the big issues from afar.
Okay, yeah. But Vince will be giving his speech, and the idea that anyone can now be leader of the Lib Dems.
Yep.
Oh, wait,
if the Lib Dems are still going to exist, the movement of the moderates
moderate
is what he wants to build. So I guess it will be interesting to see how he repitches the party as this sort of values-driven movement, a campaigning organisation, as opposed to a party. And an internal review that they had fed back to them that the party had too many people in it who were sort of obsessed by internal structures, which anyone who's seen the Lib Dem organogram, which looks like a sort of drunken spider wandering across the page, does seem to hold true. And anyone who goes to Lib Dem conference, there are a lot of people who are very keen on talking about the Federal Policy Committee and that kind of thing. You actually need to bring in people from outside who are more interested in campaigning. I don't know whether the Lib Dems are going to be able to do that, though, so it'll be interesting to see how Vince Cable pitches that.
Yeah. And then Labour conference we'll both be at.
Yep, absolutely.
Though, from what I'm hearing, not that many Labour MPs will be at it, or at least the traditional moderate Labour MPs. It seems like quite a lot are staying away.
Yes.
Picking up similar.
Yeah, I've spoken to a few who seem to be getting some good cheap deals on holidays and that kind of thing. And this has been happening for a while, actually. That I remember the first year that Jeremy Corbyn was elected at the conference, there were Labour MPs who came, but they went before his speech. So I was on the phone to lots of them, and I could just hear all these sort of trains in the background. And I said, well, where are you? Oh, well, actually, I'm on my way back to London. I've spoken at my fringe and said how grumpy I am that Jeremy Corbyn's leader, and I've had enough. And they've just been reducing their time gradually at conference. Now, that doesn't mean that conference isn't going to be lively. It's going to be incredibly lively, because actually the Labour Party is now dominated by the Corbynites, so the moderates don't really feel as though they've got many people to talk to there. So it'll be interesting to see which moderates turn up, but it'll also be interesting to see how the Corbynites consolidate their power still further over the party, whether we do have rule changes on reselection, for instance, but also the debate over the people's vote, which I was talking to some anti-Brexit Labour MPs last night, were very keen to get this, and they've been trying to push this from sort of all angles in terms of the conference programme, and they think that the Labour leadership is amenable to this. John McDonnell's certainly been making slightly more sympathetic noises recently on it, hasn't he? Yeah,
and so last year Brexit was kept off the conference floor, basically. In a priority ballot where the members get to choose the things that come up. It just didn't happen, and that was some skillful work by Jeremy Corbyn, and showing the loyalty to him, that a membership that's so pro-EU managed to not get that as something they would vote on. And we know that when it comes to the People's Vote strategy, step one is to try and change the Labour Party's position. To do that, they do need to try and get on the conference floor. So I think that would be like the other, away from trigger ballots and deselection, I think that would be the other big battle to watch out for.
Yeah.
And people are optimistic, as you say, in a way that I didn't think they were a few months ago.
Absolutely.
And then Tory conference, where to start? It's going to be really calm and nothing.
It's going to be really lively. I mean, we've talked about the sort of authority challenges for Theresa May, which basically involve not losing her voice, Set not crashing down on top of her.
Getting strepsils in time.
Yeah, I think the focus will be, as is so often the case, on the fringe, on meetings that are public, where MPs are talking openly and dropping hints about what they'd like to do in terms of leadership challenges, in terms of Theresa May's sell-by date as leader, but also the private drinks parties where the plotting goes on as well.
And, of course, the Boris Johnson's show, which is, I think, for one night only.
Yes.
Yeah, when he comes to a Brexit rally.
It's a 1,000-person strong rally.
Yeah. And we'll be reporting back on our daily politics podcast, Coffee House Shots, so do join us then. Thank you.
Bye.